Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS. Continuing on with college football week 7. Got an ACC matchup here, Georgia Tech, UNC. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWAS. The SWAS. SWAS. Hey, get the SWAS.
All right, like I said, Georgia Tech on the road in Chapel Hill for this one. Looks like UNC catching 5.5 across the board now. This number was at 6. I don't see any 6s anymore. Looks like the 6s have been bought up. Total sitting at 58.5. I see a couple 59s as well. So let's take a look at the pie charts, and according to this data, action's coming in on the North Carolina side. Not overwhelming, though. 55% of the tickets, over 50% of the money on UNC. But as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's get into this one. We'll start with the Georgia Tech offense. Obviously, if you've watched Georgia Tech this year, you know this offense has been good. They're 28th in yards per play, 20th in success rate, 21st in PPA. They're sitting at 26th in OFEI. I mean, we knew the rushing attack was going to be good. This was a good rushing attack last year. They brought back a lot of production, but Haynes King has really taken a step forward as a passer as well. He's got almost 1,300 yards on the season, 8.3 yards per attempt, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's shown us that if you give him time to throw, he can kill you. His numbers from a clean pocket are lethal. We definitely do see a drop-off in production when he's pressured, which is obviously a concern. So our first question has to be, is North Carolina going to be able to pressure the passer here in this game? Well, Georgia Tech's offensive line has done a great job in pass protection. They're actually first in sack rate allowed, 21st in pressure rate allowed, 38th in pass blocking grade. And the North Carolina pass rush really hasn't been great. 70th in grade, 86th in sack rate, 87th in pass rush grade. This North Carolina team has really been struggling to defend the pass. In their last 3 games against James Madison, Duke, and Pittsburgh, they're allowing 326 passing yards per game, 8.87 yards per attempt, 40.3% success rate per dropback. Actually isn't that terrible, but no question this defense has been struggling to stop the passing attack. And you know what? They've actually been struggling to stop the run as well. They've been struggling, period, defensively. In those same last 3 games, they're allowing 183 rushing yards per game, 4.82 yards per attempt, 44.9% success rate per rush. As we know, Georgia Tech's rushing attack is very strong. They did have one bad performance on the road in Louisville. They could not get the run game going, just 2.65 yards per carry, but that's Louisville. It's one of the best defensive fronts in all of college football. That was a great run defense last year. They're one of the best defensive fronts in college football. They were a great run defense last year, brought back a lot of production. So look, they couldn't run the ball on the road at Louisville. Most teams aren't going to be able to run the ball on the road at Louisville. Georgia Tech's rushing numbers in their other 5 games are excellent. 5.4 yards per carry, 50.5% success rate per rush. So this is a very good rushing attack against a North Carolina defense that struggled to stop the run. They've been struggling to stop anyone. That being said, I do have one concern here when it comes to Georgia Tech's offense. Their 2 worst games so far this year were their 2 true road games, at Louisville, at Syracuse. Now, the Louisville game, okay, Cards have a great defense. Louisville has an elite defense, but Syracuse, that defense isn't very good. In those 2 games, they're averaging just 23.5 points per game, which is way below their season average. Now, the success rate, yards per play, still look pretty good, which gives me some hope, but look at these numbers in comparison to these numbers, their offensive numbers in their other games, their games at home, and the one in Dublin against Florida State to start the season. They're averaging 35.5 points per game, almost a 52% success rate, almost 7 yards per play. So no question, this Georgia Tech offense has looked elite except for their true road games, and this is a true road game, which is a little bit of a concern, but honestly, there's just not enough on paper to give me faith in this North Carolina defense. So take this information and do with it what you will. But what about the other side of the ball? What about the North Carolina offense? Well, obviously, the lead story, Max Johnson gets hurt, right? It's been a little bit of a quarterback carousel here. Not that the offensive numbers look terrible. I mean, they're 51st in yards per play, 68th in success rate, 74th in PPA. Rushing numbers look all right. 54th in yards per carry, 43rd in success rate, 34th in effective rush. Passing game's been a little inconsistent, hasn't been very reliable. Criswell is currently the starting quarterback. He's got 1,160 yards, 7.4 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks, a D in big-time throw rate. hasn't made a ton of big plays through the air. What concerns me about North Carolina offensively is they haven't really showed up in the big games. In their games against Power 4 conference opponents, Minnesota, Duke, and Pittsburgh, they're averaging just 21 points per game, 4.82 yards per play, success rate below 38%. So the North Carolina offense has looked really bad in their 3 biggest games so far this year. And remember, this is an offense that wants to run the ball. They've got an NFL back in Hampton. They want to get Hampton the football. In their last 2 games, they couldn't even really do that. Against Duke and Pitt in their last 2, 151.5 rushing yards per game, barely over 4 yards per carry, 40.2% success rate. So even the run game, which is what North Carolina needs right now with the situation at quarterback, even that they've been struggling to get that going. And they're matched up against a Georgia Tech defense that, look, Georgia Tech's defense isn't good, but they have done a really good job against the run. Their run defense numbers actually look pretty good. 45th in yards per carry, 17th in success rate, 30th in effective rush. In their last 2 games against Louisville and Duke, look at their run defense numbers. They're allowing just 2.79 yards per carry, just a 29% success rate, 65.5 rushing yards allowed per game. So this Georgia Tech defense, look, like I said, it's not a great defense, but they've done a really good job against the run recently. The concerning part of Georgia Tech's defense is right here. I mean, we've seen this defense get cooked through the air a couple times. Look at their 2 road games we were talking about before, Louisville and Syracuse. 325 passing yards allowed per game, 11.25 yards per attempt, success rate per dropback over 55%. That's bad. They got roasted in these 2 road games. That being said, these 2 teams have Tyler Shuck at quarterback and McCord. So both these teams have quarterbacks capable of throwing the ball, making big plays through the air. I'm not sure if Criswell really fits that description. In fact, in the last 2 games, the passing attack hasn't really been there for North Carolina. 260 yards per game, just 6.2 yards per attempt, 39% success rate per dropback. But I would have to say both Duke and Pitt probably have better pass defenses than Georgia Tech does. And if you rewind back to the game before that, Criswell actually kind of went off against James Madison. 475 passing yards in the game for North Carolina, almost 10 yards per attempt, 52.1% success rate per dropback. So the passing numbers look good at home against a bad pass defense, and here they are at home against a bad pass defense at Georgia Tech. So, I mean, there's a path. There's a path there if you like North Carolina. Personally, I just don't believe in the North Carolina defense enough, and I think this Georgia Tech offense is very good. So it would only be Georgia Tech for me at -5.5. I'm not going to bet this one, though, because I am a little worried about the Georgia Tech offense kind of shitting the bed in their 2 road games. I don't know if that's a pattern, and I also think there is an outside chance Criswell's able to throw the ball on Georgia Tech. So there's just not enough here to get me to place the bet, but if you put a gun to my head, force me to place a bet on this game, it would be Georgia Tech -5.5. If you'd like to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on Open Bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone on the staff here. Also, if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 on one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. So if you're interested, head over to the website and sign up. Let's have ourselves a good college football week 7. I need it, man. This season's been rough for me. Need this to turn around. Still got a ways to go. We still got several months here. I can get this back. But yeah, it's definitely been a rough start. Please remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you in the Discord.